Building a camp is just one of the things that you have to do when you play Fallout 76. Yes, of course, you can avoid it like the plague, and there's now prefabs available to you so that way you don't have to actually build a camp, which is the route I like to take. But there are a lot of things that you probably should know about camp building so that way you don't make some really bad mistakes along the way, especially scrapping a camp that you just spent days building or even months building by accident. So stay tuned to get some tips and tricks. As I was just saying, we're going to be going over a lot of different tips and tricks that you should know about camps. Now, in order to actually see your camp slots, you need to go to this main menu screen. On console, it's going to be down on the D-pad. You can see in the top left it actually says expand, and it has a little highlighted part on the D-pad for down. And then you can actually go down through here and see your different camps. Now, as you can see, I have a bunch that are unplaced, and this is the one I currently have down. A lot of players know that in order to actually activate a new camp or activate your old camp, you can actually just find it on the map and select it and push activate camp. That'll switch your camp that you currently have up to this other camp that you already have built, and then you can fast travel there for free. However, if you're wanting to make a brand new camp altogether, you'll need to go down and actually choose the unplaced camp that you would like to place. So you need to be very, very, very careful when you go to build your new camp because you don't want to accidentally get rid of your current camp. Now, in order to avoid this, you should name them. Like I have this one called the Haunted Mansion. You can actually rename your camp just by going in and kind of highlighting over the top of it here and just pushing on Xbox. It is the A button. And as you can see, it says fast travel, rename camp, public map icon, awful on, and then change icon is also there where you can actually go in and change what the icon is for your camp. Now this camp, I don't want people to know that it's there because I currently have max caps and it has vending machines. Now people still can stumble upon it and buy stuff, but this right here will prevent people from actually being able to see it. As you can see, it's broadcasting now, and when I turn it off, the broadcasting stops. Turn it on, broadcasting starts again, so that way you know that your camp is live and other players can actually see it. Now to rename your camp, you just go to rename and you'll just go in and pick whatever name that you would like. This will help you figure out which camps are which, especially when we get into having more than 3 or 4 camps, or if you have more than one character. Having more than one character makes this a whole different process because then you're like, I have a camp here, but then you don't have a camp there, and then you have no idea where your camps are at. That's the problem I run into anyway because I have 3 current characters that I play on all the time, and I am constantly getting them confused as to which camp is where. So renaming them can actually be beneficial, as you will know exactly where they're at if you just name them for that spot. Like I could call this one Forest Region near 76 if I wanted to. This is only for me to see. It doesn't really show for anybody else. As you can see here, when you go to somebody else's camp, it doesn't tell you the name, it just says their camp. Like right here, just says their camp. So mine actually shows, the actual name when I go into and hover over top of it, but then also under camp slots. So right now I need to actually place this camp number 14. So like I said, you'll just go down and pick it, and I'll select it by pushing A on Xbox, and it says activate camp. So you do that. The other camp is now deactivated. As you can see, it is now grayed out. And so what you want to do is just go into your Pip-Boy like you normally do to place down your camp, and just do left bumper to actually place your camp. So the biggest problem here is going to actually find a place that you can place your camp that you enjoy and it's not overlapping with some place where you can't build or where somebody else is at. Obviously, if you find a place that you want to build and somebody else is there currently, just skip servers and go ahead and find that location again and try to place your camp at that site instead. So I'll say yes, I want to place my camp, and now I have this camp here, as you can see, and I can go in and rename this camp to let's call it the Wayward. How's that? Since it's close to Wayward. So now I have renamed my camp. I'll not lose sight of where it's at. The biggest thing is, like I said, making sure you have the right one selected. Like if you want to place another camp, make sure you have the right one that you're going to be breaking down. Like if I wanted to get rid of the wayward, I would go to the next location and just place my camp down as the wayward and then rename it or do whatever you'd like to do to it, basically, because it'll be your camp. But I would rename it because I need to have it in a different location. So with that being said, hopefully this has been kind of eye-opening to you. If you want to buy more camp slots, you just need to go into the Atomic Shop, and it will be under, I do believe it's under utility, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Maybe not. Here it is, under account. So right here, I have the max amount of camp slots. Like I said, you can have 10. You start the game with 2 at all times, and you can have a max of 10 now. So that's an extra 8 that you can buy. And then the special loadouts, of course, you can buy extra loadouts for your character as well. Another thing you may like to know about camps, especially if you get a daily or weekly challenge saying that you need to visit another player's shelter, is to actually identify whether or not a player has a shelter at their camp. So we already went over how to make sure your camp icon is public, so that way other people can actually visit it. But right here, if you look at this camp, you can see there's a little red radiation symbol. That means that that player has a shelter. And up here, this player has a bunch of little things, and since I zoomed in, you can see that there's a pumpkin, the little shelter symbol, and then a V. The V is for vendor, and this is actually for, the pumpkin is for trick-or-treating, because there's a trick-or-treating event that happens during Halloween, and you have to put candy into a candy bowl, and players need to come to your camp and actually trick-or-treat. And with that being said, that's why that's there, so the person just still has it up. Loads of players take it down because it's slightly annoying and makes a lot of music, and people get really tired of hearing it after like a month of having those things up. Anyway, so that's what these mean. These are the only symbols that you'll see on somebody's camp, is the pumpkin, the radiation symbol, and then the V for the vendor. So hopefully this will help you identify where you need to go. Alright, the last thing I'm going to show you is one thing that a lot of people don't know how to do this, or even that it exists. But if you just bought one of those like Raider or Settler bundles, you may want to know how to do this, and that is to actually change the skin on your My Camp module here. So as you can see, this is the normal one. You actually have to go into the Atomic Shop and go in under Camp, and then go over to decorations, and I have a ton of stuff. This is how you can also buy things that are by themselves in the shop instead of having to buy the entire bundle. But anyway, you go down and you find your actual skin. I wish they had a whole section for this because I have so much stuff since I've been playing for so long. It's just slightly ridiculous trying to find it. But here's the Raider camp. So what you do is you just would select it, and as you can see, it is now checked. And if you didn't want to select it, you just would unselect it. So if you want to go back to the regular one, you would do that one. Now I do have the other one. So in order to actually change the skin, you can't just, it doesn't just change on its own. You have to actually place it back down. So you'd have to move the camp again and then say yes. And then now you can see it is a different paint on there altogether. Hopefully this video has helped you, and maybe it will prevent you from actually accidentally deleting one of your camps like I have done, and I'm sure countless others have in the past as well. So learn from my mistakes, and I'll see you guys in the wasteland. Huge shout out to my channel members, the Deathclaws. Thank you so much for having my back. I love you guys. Take care. I'll see you in the wasteland.